Hello, everyone. My name is Julianne Meyer, and you are watching Own Your Wellness. And I can't believe it. We had some nice weather here in California for a minute, and now it's back to the rain. Rain, please go away. Just kidding. All weather is good. Anyway, but you know what? Here's the thing about it is sometimes the rain brings out the stress in people, which is kind of why I'm bringing it up, because there are so many different things in life that can cause stress. And a lot of us already do have coping, but we don't ever actually use those coping skills. So, how do we go from knowing what to do to actually using what we know? That is the question for today. But before we get going on that, I want to say hello and happy January, everyone. I hope your first week of the new year has been fabulous and that you are keeping to your commitments, your New Year's resolutions, if you have them. Anyway, what I was was that yes. So stress is a big deal. I mean, we all stress, anxiety, fear. It all kind of comes in the same sort of package. It shows up in our body in the same sort of way, and a lot of us don't really realize the effect that stress can have on us. And it's little things like, and I'm not saying that this is little, but it can show up in ways that maybe you don't expect it to. Like all of a sudden you're just tired all of the time. Even though you've got a million things you need to do, all you want to do is sleep. It's kind of your body's way of saying, I can't handle this anymore. I need a break, and I need a break from all of these emotions that I'm feeling. So it can show up like that. But a lot of us too know. And if you've been watching my show ever, you've probably heard me say we keep our issues in our tissues. And I know that a lot of you know that that's not my quote, but I don't even remember who said it. But I love it because we do. We keep our issues in our tissues. And don't even try and tell me that we don't, because think about it. A lot of us carry our stress in our shoulders, in our neck. We've got stress headaches, things like that. We tend to be a little more clumsy when we're stressed out and we're not paying attention to what's going on in the moment. It's another thing that happens. But stress shows up in all these unfortunate ways, but we can't always get away from it, right? I mean, there are some things that it's just life. Life can be stressful. But how do we maybe reframe that so that life will be a little bit more fun and enjoyable? And I actually had the privilege of speaking with David Fagan the other day. And if you guys don't know him, you should check him out. He's an amazing coach, entrepreneur. He's in the media industry. And if you guys have ever heard of guerrilla marketing, he's your dude. He doesn't work there anymore, but that's kind of what got him like famous. I feel like I'm going to sneeze in just a second. Woo, live. Oh, it's coming. It's coming. I can feel it. All right, went away. Watch, it'll come in a second. Anyway, live TV. There's no going away for that. Talking about stress. Just kidding. But anyway, he said one of my favorite words that I love and I like to make life seem like that is to gamify things. And what do I mean by that? Well, it's a lot more stressful if depending on how you look at things. So if you are looking at it from a place of fear, if you're looking at it from a place of anxiety, of course, it's going to be strenuous, uncomfortable, not fun, right? But think about this. If you've ever played video games, there's these levels. There's these, these hard areas where you just want to get through it. And that's stress too, but it doesn't seem bad because it's a game. So that's why we want to try and gamify things. First of all, now we can't always do that. Sometimes, like, let's take the whole money issue. That is a huge stressor for a lot of people, and it has been for me. So I completely understand and can relate to that. But one of the best ways that, to take the pressure off would be to gamify. And, instead of thinking about, oh my God, I have to make this much money to fill in the blank, it's all right. How can I create this opportunity? How can I create what I need? And it turns into something creative as opposed to reacting to life. So if you can start to think of your life as more of a game and not take it quite so seriously, then some of the stress does transmute into excitement instead of just being purely painful and torturous. So that's kind of the number one way to deal with stress is to gamify it. I love that tip. I always want to give it straight away because it is not the easiest thing to do. So, how do you even start implementing that? Well, first things first is don't start with the huge things. I mean, it's like you don't go from 0 to 60 in 1 second unless you're a super fast car. And I don't even know if that's possible because I don't know cars. But my point is that it takes a little bit of time to get where you need to go. So, how do you do that? You start practicing with the smaller things because, all of life ebbs and flows. So there's not always going to be a super huge amount of stress and not always going to be super painful. But if you can start practicing when things are going a little bit better for you and with the little things, then it becomes second nature. And that's really the main crux of learning how to use the skills that we already have and actually implementing them when we're in times of need. Because here's the thing, I don't know about you, but in the past, I know all the things. I know meditation, I know journaling, I know listening to music, getting out in nature. I mean, we're going to go over a bunch of different like opportunities to relieve stress in a little bit in case you're not aware of them. But when the time comes and I'm in the moment, what's the last thing I remember to do? I don't know. I might go out and eat something that I had no intention of eating, and ultimately that's not going to be good for me. Ultimately, that's not going to help me in the long run because if you're not eating well, your stress levels will be higher because your body is trying to combat what you're eating. I know. I just took away your cookies. I just took away your donuts. I just took away your alcohol. Not very much fun, is it? But you know what? Everything in moderation is okay. But when you start letting go of your goals and you start letting go of the things that actually keep you able to handle stress in a good healthy way, then it's time to start looking at things differently. And I'm coming from a place of addiction recovery where people, myself included, have turned to alcohol or drugs or food or TV or sex or all these different things to try and get away from their stress as opposed to looking at it and walking through it. So like I said before, what do? We need to start practicing when things are better so that it just comes naturally. Because there's nothing harder than in the heat of the moment and you're trying to bust out some new thing that you've never done before. It's already uncomfortable. You're already uncomfortable. So adding some more uncomfortability, probably not going to happen, right? So my suggestion, and this is what I tell all my clients, is to pick out certain things that help ease the tension, ease the stress in your life, and have those ready for you so that you don't have to try and figure it out in the heat of the moment. Because a lot of the times people think, or things just come up and it feels like you're drowning in that moment. And the last thing you're going to want to do is like bust out your meditation cushion if you've never done it before. It's not going to be comfortable. It's not going to feel like a sense of comfort to you, right? So that's why we need to start small. We need to start early. We need to start right away and practice all these little things that we can do in order to help relieve stress. But how else does stress show up in our body? Let's talk about that a little bit. Disease. We all know about disease and dis-ease, disease. Yeah, I know, play on words. I'm sure you've heard it before, especially if you've watched the show. You've definitely seen it. You've definitely heard it. But the thing is that, as I mentioned, we keep our issues in our tissues. It doesn't just go away. So when your body is reacting chemically to stress, to these emotions, then you are creating imbalances in your body. And when there's an imbalance in your body, there is a chance for there to be a disease created. There's a chance for other things to be out of alignment and not work well for you. So it's really important that you come up with your strategies for what it is that's going to help you reduce your stress, or what you can do to help eliminate and alleviate that stress in the moment. Because, we can start working on how to keep our stress from getting out of hand, but that doesn't help you right in that moment when all you want to do is pull your hair out, or I don't know, throw your computer out the window, whatever the case may be. So what can you do? right? What are some things? I want to hear from you guys. What are some things that you could do to help relieve your stress and that you do use to help relieve your stress? And I'm not talking about, feeding your feelings, and I'm not talking about drinking or drugs or even TV. I'm not talking about escaping. I'm talking about actually dealing with it and actually going through that. I'm going to tell you a couple of my favorite things. Well, my favorite things are to just stop and go for a walk, because I work a lot with my computer or in front of my computer, and especially with technology. And I've never really thought of myself as a technology guru, even though that's what I'm hired to do a lot of the times. Go figure. But I'll be working away on something and it's just not working. I know we've all experienced something like this, and mine just happens to be with technology. And I'm just trying and trying and trying, and I'm getting more and more frustrated, more and more stressed out. I know I've got this deadline. I've got to get it done. And it's just not working. What do? Stop. Literally stop. Stop what you're doing. Walk away from whatever that situation is. Just walk away. That is one of the number one things you can do. Go sit somewhere outside if you can. Go breathe in and out, nice deep breaths, so you can calm your nervous system back down. And then you can go back, because it's the weirdest thing. It's like turning your cell phone on and off. If it's not working, what do? You turn it off and you turn it back on. All of a sudden it's working again for no reason. Same thing with you. That's all you have to do, is just stop and reset and come back. Now that reminds me of something that is actually a really amazing trick. And that is actually it's a two-parter. So, okay. So one is in between tasks, and this will help eliminate or alleviate some of your stress. Stop in between your tasks. Don't just keep going from one thing to the next, to the next, to the next, and it's just all blending in together. That is going to cause so much stress in your life. You need to bookmark things. So stop what you're doing, take a second, breathe, whatever it is, and then start on the next thing. Don't just jump into and multitask, as they say, and keep doing all these different things. It will add to your stress. It will not help you eliminate it. It will actually add to it. So bookmark everything. So I had this friend that whenever she would come into work, she does a lot of her thinking in her car. So she'd come to work, and what she would do to just mark that period of time was over is she would knock on the wall outside of the gym, and then she would come in. It works like a charm, because it stops and resets. Okay, this is a new time. This is a new period. Let's just begin now. And it was all fresh and new. And I have another friend, and this is the other one that I think is absolutely amazing. She gets to work and she's having a crap day. It's just started and it's super crap. And so what does she do? She gets outside, goes in her car, drives around the block, and starts all over again. We can do that in our lives, people. We can do that. Just like I said, I keep saying this: stop, and then come back to it. All right. And speaking of stopping and coming back to it, it is time for us to go to a commercial break. So before we go, I want to say hi to everybody who's watching us live, and we will be back in just a moment. Welcome back, everyone. If you're just joining now, I'm Julianne. You're watching Own Your Wellness. And in the last segment, we were talking about stress and like that we all have all these different ideas of how we can relieve it. But in the moment, we don't actually do anything. And then we fall back on our nasty habits and things that, we do to self soothe and cope in that moment that are not necessarily the healthiest options for us. So, the thing that I was talking about was stopping, and then restarting again. And there's another opposite and yet quite helpful way to help relieve stress. And this one really has to do, especially with like money in particular. When you're stressed about getting something done, or you're stressed, you feel like, you need to make more money, or there's just something that you can do that, or you need to do in order to be okay, and you have all this extra energy. One of the best ways to help alleviate some of that stress is to actually do something, make a tiny little step forward. I know it's the opposite of stopping, but it is actually, action will help with the stress because you're doing something to help yourself. So make sure you're stopping in between tasks, as I mentioned before, but actually do those tasks and start small. You don't have to be big. Just start small. Do something really tiny. So let's say you have anxiety about going to the gym, for example. I know so many people that don't want to go to the gym because they don't feel like they're in good enough shape to actually go to the gym. It's like cleaning before your maid comes. I don't really understand that. I mean, I get it to a point, but anyway, as a personal trainer, that I've worked in the gyms, and I've also worked in people's homes. And the point though is that to help alleviate some of that stress, just drive to the gym. Don't even go in. I mean, there's little baby steps. You're getting closer. You're breaking through those barriers of fear, because sometimes action is all it takes to actually get through it. I mean, it's kind of like courage. You can't wait for the courage to do something because you're going to be waiting forever. In order to get the courage, you have to actually do it. It's kind of ironic, isn't it? But it's very true. So action will help alleviate stress in certain instances. So I do recommend doing something along those lines, because just sitting there paralyzed in fear is only going to make things worse. And then it's kind of like no decision is a decision. And that's the thing too, is a lot of times we get paralyzed by the fear of making the wrong decision. It's very few choices in life that will completely derail you from the life you want to live. You can always adjust your choices as you go along. Let's take school, for example. Let's say you decide you want to go to school to become a lawyer, and you decide you don't want to be a lawyer. That doesn't mean that you just, keep going in what you're doing. You can switch majors. You could switch what you're going to do with your life. You don't have to it doesn't derail your entire life, is what I'm getting at. So there's very few choices in your life that are actually going to be extremely detrimental. So the only one I can really think of is like murdering somebody. There's no coming back from that, right? It's a little dark. I get it. But anyway, I'm just saying that, the indecision of things is what causes stress a lot of the time. So by making your choices and making choices that you are, in the moment as quickly as possible with the information that you have, will help eliminate some of that stress. So definitely those are things that you want to do to help yourself, is to stop in between tasks and to actually do something about it. Actually move forward. And like I said, if you just start, it helps so much. There's this amazing video out there, and I should find it and show it to you guys. It's about dominoes, and it's talking about the domino effect with choices and decisions. And so each domino that you have, if it can actually knock over something that's like 2 times the size of itself. So there's a guy that did an experiment with a little normal sized domino, and all the way up until it was like, I don't know, 2 stories tall or something. Like he, had to get the ladder out and put this thing up. And the whole point was that it all started with this tiny, tiny little domino. And that's kind of how our choices are. Once you get going, you get this momentum, and then you get to keep going. And now all of a sudden you're knocking down a 2-story domino. So Keep that in mind. You don't have to go from 0 to 60 with the first little step. You just have to get that first little domino down in order to get the next domino down. It's really that simple. So instead of trying to worry about the very end, think about now. All right. So here's another one that I think is such an amazing idea for people who are feeling stressed out. And that is to play the tape through. And this is something that we talk about in addiction recovery. And actually, they did this on the show This Is Us, which was kind of cool. And it was like worst case scenario or something like that. But anyway, you actually play the tape through. And that just shows you how old I am because I know what a cassette tape is. Anyway, the point though is that you think about, okay, let's say the worst thing that happens, let's say you lost your job, for example, and now you have no income. What's the worst that will happen? The worst thing that'll happen is you sell your home, and the worst thing is you end up living with your parents again. But if you play it through, it takes some of the stress out because then you're kind of mentally preparing yourself for those things that you think might possibly happen. So if you actually think about it and just play it through, it makes it a lot less scary because you've actually decided, okay, well, if this happens, then I can do this. If this, and it gives us this false sense of security. But you know what? Even though it's a false sense of security, it helps. It helps with that stress, doesn't it? Oh my goodness. Yes, it does. All right. So now we've been talking a little bit about different ways that maybe we could deal with stress in the meantime while we're experiencing it full on. But there are other ways to deal with stress that a lot of people probably are aware of, but just don't do. And some of those things are sleeping properly, because I don't know anybody who's been able to make a really sound decision and deal well with life that's really tired. I mean, let's think about it, right? And then how about drinking more water? These are all really simple things that you can do to help eliminate your stress before it even begins, because you're taking care of yourself. So drinking more water, there's this thing where people drink so much coffee and they're like, oh my God, I've had my 6th cup of coffee and I'm still so tired. Well, the reason why you're so tired is because you're dehydrated. So if you actually drank some more water instead of coffee and rehydrated yourself, all of a sudden that coffee is going to work and you're going to be like, boop, boop, and feel like raring to go again. So make sure that you keep yourself hydrated is what I'm getting at. So we've got sleep, we've got hydration. Now we got to talk about the whole food thing. This is Own Your Wellness. So we need you to own it. You need to figure out what works best for you when it comes to food. Now, obviously, there's things that are not going to be good for your stress levels. And those are things like fast food, things like processed food, like deli slices of meat, and my favorite, cheese. I'm obsessed with cheese. I'll probably never give it up, but it doesn't help my body work at optimal functions. It's kind of like, putting diesel in an unleaded engine. It might run for a little while, but it's not going to run forever, and it's not going to run well. And so you really do need to pay attention to what you're feeding yourself. Now, most of us stress eat. There's a lot of us out there that want to just eat our feelings. And I am one of the first people to do that. But then I had to have this change of heart, this change of perception, this change of mind that I want to share with you, because it's made a huge difference in my life. And I'm hoping it'll make a huge difference in yours. And that is that, food is intended to fuel us so that we can live our ultimate life, so that we can leave our legacy, so that we can live happily and fully and, to the best of our abilities. And yes, sometimes that chocolate tastes really good. Sometimes that soda is phenomenal in that moment, but it's not ultimately helping us. So when I think about what do I really want? And this is when you think about it, like, really, if you say you don't want to be stressed, you say you want to be happy, what can you do to make that happen? Knowing full well that sugary snack or that soda is not going to help you with your stress levels, wouldn't be the best choice if you really want to, if you're really serious about it, you know? And I know it's easier said than done, but you've got to get over that hump. And just know that once you get over that hump, it's not forever. It's not a forever thing, but there is, that moment when you have to just grin and bear it and like deal with it while you're going through withdrawals, while you're sitting there uncomfortable, because those moments will pass. And if you can sit through it, because it doesn't last forever, it feels like it sometimes, but it doesn't last forever. So if you can sit there and hold true to your goal, your ultimate goal of being happy and less stressed, more carefree, then it makes it easier to make those choices. So instead of having the candy that I might have, I'll have a piece of fruit. And if I'm really feeling naughty, I'm going to have dried fruit, which, is still better than a candy bar. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't have to be all or nothing. It doesn't have to go from blueberries to a Twix like I used to do, seriously. But I'm just saying, though, that when you can start learning that, okay, this is really actually not doing me any good, then it makes it easier to sit through those moments of uncomfortability and realize that those moments will get easier. They will get easier because once you've dealt with something that doesn't go away for a long time, then you realize that all those little things don't actually help anyway. They really don't. It doesn't take away any of the stress. It just masks it for a moment. So ultimately, do you want to get rid of it, or do you want to just mask it for a moment and not actually feel any better and do yourself more harm in the long run? So it's really important that you eat well, you drink plenty of water, and you get plenty of rest. Now, what are some other things people don't realize? It is extremely important for you to have relationships that are quality. This will help relieve some of your stress. Have yourself a really good friend that you can hang out with. I'm not saying that you dump all your crap on your friends. I'm saying that you go out and you have fun with these people. You get to walk away from your feels for a minute and just have fun in the moment with them. You get to walk away and experience joy and hear about them. Those are really good. That's a really, really good way to help eliminate stress in a healthy way. Another way to do that is to actually volunteer. What's something that you love to do? Because if you're so busy focused on something else, you're not so busy focused on yourself. And a lot of the times it puts things in perspective. Like things are not all that bad. I have this friend who broke up with a guy, and it's been over a year, and it's like it still happened yesterday in her mind. And while I feel sympathy for her pain, I wonder why she's still there in that spot on purpose, and I've been guilty of it too. So I know that there's plenty of people out here who might feel like I'm touching on their nerve when I say this. But if the stove burns your hand, stop putting your hand on the stove. Don't keep going back to the thing that hurts you. It's time to move forward and realize that that is over. So the reason why I'm bringing this up is that, because I just talked about friends and friendship, and yes, it's a good place for you to forget and to, have fun, and sometimes also to vent with and bounce ideas off of. But like I said, it's not an okay thing to dump your crap on somebody else. So if you really need to talk and it's past your friend's pay grade, it's time to get a therapist, people. And there is nothing wrong with that, because that's what people are there. And they're trained to handle that kind of emotion. They're trained to hold it for you in that hour. So if you are stressed out, I highly recommend that you get somebody that you can talk to that is a professional. I'm not that professional, but there are plenty out there. And, there's no shame in asking for help when you need it. That's why I'm a coach. I help people, right? But anyway, it is time for us to go to another commercial break already. Been yammering on, but it is time. So we'll be back in just a minute.
Welcome to E360 TV, the live streaming and on-demand destination for influential voices and enlightened audiences. We offer trending, grassroots, and purpose-driven content across a diverse range of interests. E360 TV is more than just watching programs. We offer the ability to interact with live shows connecting audiences to real, authentic influencers and storytellers while streaming to millions of devices. Real experiences. Raw conversations. One destination for it all. E360 TV.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm Julianne. You're watching Own Your Wellness, and we're talking about stress, that dreaded stress, and what to do, how to actually help eliminate it in the moment and use those, those tools. So the number one thing is, like I said before, you got to practice. You got to practice when things are good. You got to practice so that it just becomes second nature. So it doesn't feel weird and uncomfortable when you already feel weird and uncomfortable. That's the main reason why people don't do the things that they know will work, is because it feels weird. It doesn't feel normal to them. Now, that being said, it's kind of like, going on a diet and then changing, eliminating calories and completely changing the way you eat. And then as soon as you're done, you get to that goal weight and you go back to exactly the way you ate before. You can't expect that everything is going to stay the same, can you? So when you find something that works for you, don't stop doing it when everything's great, because it's working for you. It's like, I don't know, brushing your teeth. You don't want to stop just because your teeth are clean for a few days. Although if your teeth are clean for a few days, yeah, that doesn't work. But you understand what I'm saying. So anyway, I'm just getting at the point that you don't stop just because you feel good. You don't stop because you think you hit your goal, because you don't hit your goal with wellness. It is a journey. It's not a destination. You're always going to be moving forward and doing something for yourself. It's like making your bed. If you want it made, you got to do it every single day. Same thing with stress, skills. You got to practice them. You got to use them. Even when you're not feeling stressed, you got to keep using them. So there's something that I love, and this is actually something that I took from AA as well. And I never really understood this at the time. And that's why I want to share it with you, because it took me a long time to really figure it out. And that was that, in AA, they say to give yourself like a job, like, because there's different things that you can do at meetings and things like that. So like greeting people or telling about the literature, or all these different little things. Give yourself, sign up for something so that you'll show up. And I never understood why that was. I'm like, I'm going to come because I need to come. But the reason why is because there's days when you're fine and you don't feel like going because you feel fine. It's kind of like, well, I'm in shape, so I can skip one day of exercise. And all of a sudden, it's like a month later and you haven't been to the gym. Yeah, you can't stop doing the things that work for you. So I'm just beating that one to a pulp for you guys. So just remember that, is that to not stop doing the things that work. And then experiment, try things, try different things. Journaling works really well for me when I'm, at the end of the day or even in the beginning of the day, so that I can get all these thoughts that are in my head out so that I can concentrate on the present moment. It works really well for me. There's other things, for me to be less stressed, I need to concentrate on positivity. So I will read inspirational books. I will watch inspirational YouTubes. I will get on Instagram or Facebook and watch reels that are, heartwarming and cheerful and things along those natures. So you've got to get your brain thinking about the positive things because it's the law of the universe. What you focus on expands. So if what you want is positivity, you've got to flood yourself with positivity. And that's why it's so important to, if you're stressed out, stop watching the news. It's really that simple. Stop reading the newspapers. People will tell you if something's going to happen or something's going on. You don't need to read blow by blow every minute of the day. Trust me, that's one of the first things that people do when there is an issue with stress and anxiety, as far as like therapy. So those are things that you can do. Just remember, you want to stop in between tasks, actually do tasks. Action begets action and will help with your stress levels. Practice those things that are working for you when you're not so stressed out, and keep doing them even when you feel fine. So if your meditation is your jam, do it every day. You're going to learn to love it. It'll become part of your routine. All right. And then flood yourself with positivity and take good care of yourself. Those are all really, really important things. So with that being said, it is time for my book picks. All right. So first book up is Clarity by Diane Altemeyer. Now, I had the pleasure of meeting this young lady years ago, and her book is absolutely amazing. I highly recommend it. And this is something that I've actually taught a little bit about as well. And I learned it from her. And that is to, like I just said, bookend things. So let's say, oops, as I kind of try and destroy my setup here. Anyway, so when you are trying to face issues and work through issues that are stressing you out, make sure when you're done dealing with those thoughts, feelings, and emotions that you end it with something positive, so that the next time when you want to look at something stressful, you'll actually do it because you remember it more fondly. It's a simple trick of the brain. It works really well. And that's just one of the 10 proven strategies that she has in that book. So I highly recommend it. Another one, and this one is just because it is so good, and it is When God Winks at You by Squire Rushnell. Now, this book is just purely fun, and it's like miracles and all these. It's just happy. It's inspirational. And if you're feeling stressed out, I highly recommend reading this book because it just feels good and it shows you that miracles can happen, especially when you are in the space where you feel like your world is imploding. It feels really good to know that miracles do happen. And this book is full of miracles. So I highly recommend reading this one because it's a fun, easy read and it's uplifting. Like I said, you want to flood yourself with positivity. And then the last one I have is Tuesdays with Maury. Now, this one is just really puts things in perspective about, how life really is and how, we get stuck in like these things that seem like life or death. Now, that's the thing with stress. And this is something that I really want to sort of mention is, remember when you were a teenager and everything just felt like it was the end of the world, that boy doesn't like you, or you got a C minus, or you don't have the cool shoes, whatever. It just felt like your entire world was going to end because of these things. And now you look back and you're like, oh my goodness, that was so silly, right? Well, it really hasn't changed. That's the thing. It still feels like it's that real. But it's actually not. We're just grown-up teenagers, and that's all it is. So read Tuesdays with Maury because it will give you a little bit different perspective on life and what's actually important. All right. So those are my 3 book picks. And now it is time to ask Julianne. All right. So for those of you who have not seen the bowl of questions, I'm getting in here. I'm going to pick one of your questions and answer it. All right. Oh, I love this one because we were talking a little bit about stress and money. And so, what are some simple side hustle ideas? So, for those of you who are stressed about money, and maybe you have your 9 to 5, or maybe you're retired, but you're, you know, finding yourself a little strapped for cash, or you're an entrepreneur and you need a little extra something while your business is growing. These are all valid things, right? So, what are some things that you can do? So, surprisingly, there's there's this one, you can do surveys online, which is really weird, but you could do it. You make money for doing that. Survey Junkie is a place to go if that's what you're interested in. There's things like Uber Eats. You could do Uber Eats. They you don't have to drive people around, but you can deliver their food for them. So as long as it doesn't, like, for me, it might be hard to do that because of, I don't necessarily want to deliver fast food, for example, or liquor, for example. But if you don't have a problem with that, then that's a really good one, and you can get paid the same day. So that's a good one. Um, oh, here's another one. Turo. I don't know if you guys have heard of Turo. I use it well, I don't use it all the time, but I use it and I recommend it. And if you have a car, you can let other people use your car and rent it from you, and you can make money doing it that way. So that's kind of a cool way to do, or to make a little extra cash. And then another one from another idea is to store other people's stuff. You can store other people's stuff in your yard, like if you have one, or in your house, just because they don't necessarily want to go to, a storage unit place or something like that. So that's a really good way to make a little extra cash. And then, like, on the more business side of things, you can do these amazing things like you can create an ebook, a quick little ebook, and then sell it online. So let's say you make it and you spend 2 hours making it, or let's be long and say 6 hours making this book. Then you can sell it for like $5-10. So you sell a few of those and you got some extra cash. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't take that long. Plus, you're adding value to the world. So that's something you can do. You can also create a course and sell that online. That's a really, really good way to make some extra cash if you have any sort of skill that you want to impart with other people. And it could be as simple as, for example, teaching like the elderly how to use a cell phone or how to use the computer. That's what you could teach other people how to do. And it doesn't have to cost, them a lot of money or you a lot of time. It's another way to be of service to other people, add value, and make that money. What else? Oh, how about, here's this other one. And this is actually real. And I did this once years ago. It's called Flash Rewards, I believe. Anyway, you can get like $750 for doing like all their little surveys and playing their little games and things like that. And it's real. So yeah, those are some side hustle ideas just off the top of my head. If you're looking for a little extra cash, those are some ideas for you. All right, let's see what else do we have here. Okay. Ooh, I hate weightlifting. What can I do? Okay, so here's my question about weightlifting. And I hear this a lot from my older clients as well as women in particular. The questions that I always ask is, why do you hate weightlifting? Does it make you uncomfortable? Is it painful? Does it feel daunting to, be in the gym with all these big dudes and, whatever? If it kind of depends on what those answers are for me to respond, but some things that definitely help with any of those is to learn proper technique, because then you'll feel more confident in the movement yourself, and it won't be painful for you. You won't feel uncomfortable because you'll know what you're doing. So there's ways that you can do that. I highly recommend a personal trainer, but if you don't feel that you can afford that, go on YouTube and learn how to do it yourself. It's not going to be the same, I can guarantee it, but it's better than nothing. And at least it'll build your confidence. The other things too is, why not just start with your body weight? There's so many body weight exercises you can do that are not like powerlifting or lifting in general, just to get you, to feel more comfortable in your own skin, and maybe it won't be so painful because you're not lifting as heavy of weights since you're using your body. So there's things like, push-ups, for example, burpees. I'm always talking about burpees. There's all these different, just using your body to do like step ups. How about some crunches, things like that? These are all things that you can do on your own that are not weightlifting. And then you can also add in some resistance bands. It's a lot easier on the body, and those come with instructions. So if you have resistance bands, you can do that at home, or you can go to the gym, but look it up online, get a YouTube video and see how to do it, or ask someone. There's always somebody you can ask, right? Um, what are some other things? Oh, you could do ankle and wrist weights and wear those around while you're just doing your movements. You're adding some weight until you get your body more used to the idea of lifting weights. It's a little bit of weight, but it's better than nothing, right? Um, oh, and then if you're maybe bored, or you feel like it just doesn't quite interest you, switch it up a little bit. Do some Pilates, add some bar in there. Bars and BARRE. So these are all things that you can do that don't require heavy lifting weights, that will still give you a quality workout. So those are all things that I recommend if you're not really willing to, go down to sorry, my nose is super itchy, allergies. Go down to the gym and lift weights with the muscle meatheads, right? Just kidding, sort of. All right. Excuse me. So what are some simple tricks to eat healthier? This is a really good question. First of all, not choke. All right. Oh, okay. So some really simple, easy switches, kind of like this or that kind of ideas, is to taste your food before you salt it. Make sure you actually need all these flavorings before you add stuff to it. That will actually help with your sodium intake. That's one of the things we have to worry about, that a lot of people don't take seriously, is the sodium intake. So in order to eat healthier, just taste your food first. It's a really quick, easy fix. And then put a little less salt than maybe you would normally, because you still want some taste, but you're trying to lower your salt intake more than likely. So there's that. And then, another way is to pack your own lunches and pack your own snacks, because it's a lot easier to eat something healthy if you're not buying it from the gas station or the grocery store checkout line. Those candy bars all of a sudden look really good when you're starving to death, or all of a sudden that McDonald's drive-through, Taco Bell drive-through looks really good because you don't have any food on you. But if you have a healthy snack that you enjoy, or your lunch, then you're going to eat that. So that's a really easy way to eat healthier. Drink more water, actually, because a lot of the times we are actually thirsty. We're not actually hungry. So if you can drink more water, which most people need to do anyway, then that will help you make healthier choices. And every time you make a healthy choice for yourself, it makes it easier to make another healthy choice, because you're building momentum, right? What else? Experiment with new healthy recipes. That's always something that, sorry, so itchy. Experiment with new healthy recipes. It's always something that you can do. Just have fun with it. Remember, gamify. We've been talking about gamifying things. So gamify that. Try one once a week, just something new. It should be fun. You never know what you're going to find, what you're going to like. What else? How about stop eating fats that are solid at room temperature? Y'all know what I'm talking about. Just eliminate those from your diet. Slow down when you're eating. Actually chew your food more. That's a really quick, easy way to eat healthier and quicker, like to make better choices, is to do that. To choose whole grain instead of refined, flours, things like that. So if you're going to do like a bread, do that, or even seeds, do like seeded bread instead. Always, that's a way better choice than your white bread and just, all the ones that turn right into sugar into your body. So what else can you do? How about eat greens first? That is actually a really good idea if you're, because if you are more full, then you're not going to eat as much of things that are like higher density calories and less healthy if you are fuller. Right? So try and eat those things first. Now, in Italy, they actually eat the salad at the end of the meal because it does help with digestion. So there is both sides to it. But honestly, if you're trying to eat healthier, eat those first. Crowd out all the extra other foods that you might normally eat. because if you fill up on all the other stuff, then you're not going to eat the greens. And that's really what you need. So do that and eat the rainbow, people. Eat the rainbow. And I'm not talking Skittles. I'm talking fruits and vegetables. And speaking of fruits, always eat them, never drink them. So I don't care if you have a juicer, you're not getting any of the fiber, you're not getting any of the other things that come with it. It takes like 8 oranges to make a glass of orange juice. Who could eat 8 oranges, right? So think about all that sugar that's in there too. So make sure that you're eating your fruit instead of drinking it. And as I mentioned before, eat fresh fruit instead of dried fruit. Remember how I said that sometimes I'll do that if I'm really stuck and I'm really feeling like I need to eat my feelings. It's still better than a candy bar to eat the dried fruit, but don't do that. Don't just do it as an extra special treat as opposed to I'm eating fruit and it's dried. Some other things you can do is ask for dressing on the side. I know it sounds simple, but it really does work. Ask for your dressing on the side. Oh, and here's one last one I'm going to share with you guys. And that is too, and this is like a science thing. Eat on a smaller plate. Put your food on the salad plate instead of the dinner plate. You'll actually eat less and feel full because you're tricking your brain. You think you're eating this huge, you're eating the entire plate of food, even though the plate is smaller. So that is my number one trick for that. So anyway, that is basically all the time that we have for today. I do want to mention that I am starting my own network, Achieve TV for entrepreneurs here on E360 TV. So I am going to be looking for people who want to start their own TV show. And if that's something that interests you, hook me up, like meet me, talk to me, ownyourwellness.net or at Jules Ann Meyer on Insta. Anyway, that is all the time that we have, and we are going to be back again on Thursday with our special guest. I'm so excited, you guys. Stephen Ezra West. He is amazing. You're going to adore him. He's got such great energy, and he's such a great person and just so much fun and full of knowledge. So until then, enjoy your week, everyone, and we'll see you on Thursday.